Peace, wholeness, and divine blessings, everyone. I am Moon Goddess Ambrosia, the Fifth Force Oracle. I'm also Kim 181, the Red Crystal Dragon. And I am honored, as always, to share the collective Cosmic Oracle reading of evolution for us today on this plasma. Um, I am grateful and thankful to be here sharing space with all of you, being able to share this oracle reading because we are here to make some amazing shifts in this world. And we have been able to take uh, the Zokan cosmology to uh, use as a tool to advance us. And so I definitely want to give a shout out to Mimic and the Mimic Priesthood. Hey, sisters. I want to give thanks to High Priestess Mayat and Neb as well as Baba Wanique, for setting the stage for us to get all these gems and be able to use this information to, again, advance ourselves. So also with that, I want to shout out Synchronistic Hueman, School of Enlightenment. Um, Doing some great work over there with Neb and, it's been really, really dope. And of course, I want to thank everyone that's supportive of Moon Goddess and the healing arts. So I send much, 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 much love to all of you tapping in to aligning with the cycles, to um, through my YouTube, wherever you may be when you're hearing this. So I definitely just appreciate the fact that we all share like minds. We all are here looking to personally grow for ourselves and, do some great things here on this plane, So with that, I want to go ahead and move forward and get into the oracle reading for today. Oh, I can't forget this. And shout out to brother Aqil Ken 38, because he has been on holding it down, okay, for the aligning with the cycles. He just come through hosting and be, dropping gems when he's even going over his, that information to get us all ready for, the whole session. And so much love and gratitude to you as well, brother Aqil. All right, so here we are. So we are, before we get into the oracle reading, I love to invite you all to look at it from the perspective or the mindset of a synchronaut. The mindset of a synchronaut recognizes that we are living expressions of divine synergy in motion, remembering our divine purpose to consciously create and fulfill our soul's missions in all spaces of time. And so, what's beautiful about this is, it really puts us in a position to be more clear and walk in our divinity and, use that power of divinity within us for a greater, excuse me, for a greater collective transformation, So, one thing that I would love for us to focus on when it comes to this heptad is shifting from remembering our divine purpose to now consciously creating it. So, whatever it is that we have been called to do, let's really tap in and allow ourselves to transform our conduct. Having that patience to let it do what it do. Okay, so with that, as we all think of that, or start getting into that mindset, we can I want to invite all of you to recite your personal galactic signature affirmation. Okay, and so as you're saying it, focus your mind on shifting your, moving into consciously creating with your divine kinergy, I like to call it. And so, as we do this, we are going to say, as a living expression of, and then you're going to say your kin number, name, and then get into your signature affirmation. And so just allow yourself to feel into the vibrations, and we should be good from there. All right, so please join me as I say my affirmation. And remember, you're saying your personal uh, affirmation or your signature. All right, so let's go. As a living expression of Kin 181, the red crystal dragon, I dedicate in order to nurture, universalizing being. I seal the input of birth with the crystal tone of cooperation. I am guided by the power of space. Ashe, Ashe, and Ashe-yo. All right. So for me, it was universalizing being. So as I remember, that is, what my creative power and essence and specialty is. Now let's get into the mindset of consciously creating that. And so whatever set out for you, as you stated yours, lock into that and let's get creative. Let's get in our creative mode. Okay. All right. So the Destiny Kin Oracle Board. This is where the cosmic oracle reading of evolution is based on. And so with the Destiny Kin Oracle Board, we remember that it helps us to sustain our cosmic synergy or our divine synergy as multidimensional beings on Earth. And we operate in this frequency through multiple dimensions. Okay, so this can be used as a meditative tool. You can meditate on this information, and as a compass. So we're focusing on navigating through these natural cycles, navigating through our soul's evolutionary journey, I'll say. And so this is what we get to use the oracle reading for today. And so here on this plasma, we are on Kin 157, which is the red magnetic earth. So if you look to the left, you can see the location of the red earth. And so here in the Destiny Oracle, we got the red earth in the center, in the position of the soul body. Down below, we have the yellow seed, which is in position of the emotional body. On the left, we have the blue hand, which is in the position of the mental body. And last but not least, we have the white wind that is in the physical body. And so these four archetypes, those are always going to be in the red earth destiny oracle. So the oracle board on the left shows the basic template for all of the 20 archetypes. And so depending on the galactic tone of the particular archetype, that would determine which archetype sits in that box above the soul body. So that's why on the left, you see that those boxes are blank. And then on the right, being that we're on the magnetic tone, we also have the red earth sitting in the spirit guide body. And so those are all of the 5 locations or positions of the Destiny Oracle. And you can also see how we can utilize this to stay in our whole state of being, as well as be able to navigate through, through our journey. And so that is why we tap into the Destiny Oracle. And so we could take a closer look to understand what the red magnetic earth creative essence and power is, and why we're tapping in, or how to tap into it on this plasma. So anytime we're on a magnetic tone, that begins a wave spell. So we are starting a new wave spell today. And I look at each wave spell as a mission. So throughout these next 13 kins, we are fulfilling the mission of tapping into the power of our navigation, the way that we're navigating through life. And so this power of navigation evolves by or through synchronicities. So as we tap into that and allow these synchronicities to show us what is shifting and what may not be shifting, this puts us in a position to go through that process of purifying the flow of how we navigate through the collective energy. So when I think about universal water, I'm thinking about every all the uh, uh, all of the energy that we embody, that's around us, and all of that. You know what I'm saying? So we get to purify the way that we flow in arc energy and how we take that through our evolution. And so when we look at each aspect of its name, the red is corresponds to gaining the knowledge that's going to initiate a new perspective. So that right off bat is an encouragement for us to be open-minded to maybe do a little studying or do a self-reflection or something of that nature to initiate us to do some dope things in this wave spell. And so when we look at the solar seal slash archetype, that is where it says Earth and known as the navigator. So this is the power of navigation that evolves synchronicities. So not only do synchronicities evolve, but we have the power of evolving the synchronicities based on how we move and operate. And so the whole point of what we're doing in this wave spell can be seen by the magnetic tone, which says that we're unifying the purpose and attracting it. So when we, so the, on this plasma is really great to focus on identifying what is the purpose of you navigating. Like, why are we here? It's like, why am I moving through this thing? You could look at it from the perspective of life as a whole. You could look at it based on what you may personally be evolving through. Use this plasma to focus on how you see yourself evolving, how to see yourself being in a pure flow of who you are and what you're doing. Even in relationships and connections. Being in a pure flow. And so when we look at the full affirmation here, it talks about us unifying that power of navigation in order for us to evolve. So that even goes back to, what is the purpose of you navigating? What are you intending to do, create, and experience or be? Okay, so what are you using? What are you here? What are you looking forward to do? And so uh, we can tap into that by telling ourselves that we want to attract the synchronicities. And so, excuse the typo there. It says attracting flow here, but it's supposed to say by attracting synchronicities. And so, how do we attract synchronicities? I got to shout out now to Harker for sharing that gem, that the power of synchronicity is based on how we feel, think, and perceive things, and the actions that we take. That's what creates a synchronicity. So a lot of the time when we may think of something like, and then it happens in our experience and we're like, oh, that's a coincidence. No, you created a synchronicity, or you attracted a synchronicity. You know what I'm saying? And so this is what we want to do as we're tapping in and staying focused, because when we shift those internal parts within us, we also get to use the power of that navigation to evolve the synchronicities. Okay, so as we get back to the reading of the affirmation, it also says that we're sealing our like the way that we self-regulate, the way that we navigate with the magnetic tone of purpose. So we're getting locked in to self-regulating the way we navigate by tapping into that magnetic tone of purpose. So what is the purpose of you navigating again? What's the intentions behind it? And so last but not least, it says, I am guided by my own power of navigation doubled, or I like to say times two. And so we're being extra activated to focus on this purpose, what we're here to do and what synchronicities we are attracting. And so let's go ahead and jump right on into the oracle reading itself. And so reminding us that we're focusing on remembering our divine purpose so that we can consciously create. So based on where you are, and it's always great to start with where you currently are. What is the purpose of you navigating? What is your purpose? You may not have to, you may not know, I like to say you may not remember yet what your full purpose is. However, I'm pretty sure by this point we have some idea, or we've been getting insights and inklings, and we got some idea of what our purpose is and what we seek to do in this world. And it's really based on the change that you feel like you can bring into this world. Okay. And so no matter how small or big it is, we want to ask ourselves, what is our purpose? What is the purpose of us navigating? What is the purpose of what I am navigating through? There's so many different ways that you could look at the question. And the reason why I brought this up is because that magnetic tone asks that question, what is my purpose? So we already know, as we unify our purpose, we also get to attract. So it's like when you know what you want to do, then you know what I'm saying? Like when you know what you want to do, you're more likely to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's like knowing what the purpose is always like the first step. And so as we focus on the purpose of us navigating, or the purpose of the synchronicities that we have been attracting or that we are looking to attract, we are also being guided to focus this energy even more on that navigation. And I say that because we're also guided by the red magnetic earth. So just like we was reading the affirmation, it says, I am guided by my own power of navigation doubled. So think about what that means for you and what you understand about your archetype and your purpose. What are you here to evolve? How can you direct yourself to, continue to stay in alignment with spirit for guidance? And so as we think about, what are we here to evolve? What have we been evolving through? How can we navigate through this better? And that's going to do that internal work of I'll say transforming the way that we're creating these synchronicities. And so if we take a look at the physical body now, where we have the white magnetic wind, this is the position that, or I'll say the archetype that sits in this position is what's supporting us in holding that focus, being focused on the way that we're evolving, the way that we're navigating and attracting these synchronicities. And so the white magnetic wind comes through with its energy to support us in that by telling us to breathe, like attract the breath. Just so to, it's like as we breathe, we are excuse me. I was about to drift off into something else. As we breathe, we allow ourselves to connect with our hearts, with our higher selves, to the divine within us, the most divine creator, the source, however you want to name the creative of all. And so when we just slow down a little bit, take a moment to pause and breathe, we get to communicate from that space. So it's a communication that's happening internally. You're not physically saying anything, and if you are, it's still happening internally. And then there's something that's happened on the external, which maybe you saying it out loud, or you're speaking to someone else. So, or you're using your breath and your voice to speak from your spirit. So so basically, to bring it back to the oracle reading, and what we're focusing on is when you pause to breathe and think about the way that you're navigating the things that you've been evolving through, you allow yourself to have an open and a clearer channel, a clear direct channel to the source, to the divine source within you, the energy flowing through you that's all around us. When we breathe in that space and connect, that's when the downloads and insights come through to support us in the way that we're navigating. So it's just like, instead of rushing to get from point A to point B, take a moment to breathe. Stay in that alignment. Okay, so that was a good one right there. We gotta breathe, y'all. We gotta, tap in so that we can see clearly of how we're navigating and making these moves. So remember also, when we are attracting synchronicities, we gotta be in a clear, we want to get our feelings, thoughts, and our actions in alignment with how we intend to navigate, or how we envision ourselves um, making moves or creating, consciously creating. And that could be done by us taking a breath or attracting breath. And so the next one that I want to jump to is the mental body. And the mental body is where we experience it, or when we get to recognize any challenges that we experience as gifts. So it's just like if you have a challenge of tying your shoe, eventually once you overcome that quote unquote challenge, you come into the gift of knowing how to tie your shoe. So it's just like when it comes to us navigating, we may experience different challenges in the way that we're navigating through our evolution. However, when we lock into the blue magnetic hand that's sitting in this position, we get to be more aware of what we intend to accomplish based on how we're evolving. And that right there is also a challenge, but it's also supporting us in navigating. We got to know what we're seeking to accomplish. And so once we know that, we get to now attract that quote unquote healing, bringing it all together, restoring, it back to that state, or restoring it to a certain state. We get to operate from a place of wholeness, and that is where the gift is. So, like, for example, say that you've been navigating through family challenges. The mental body comes in to be like, okay, what are you here to accomplish? Do you know? Do you know what you seek to accomplish? From being, from what you're experiencing in those family issues. And so once you get to that knowing, you can now start to attract the healing. You start to envision and think about and get the downloads and insights from breathing to see how you're going to heal through that, or how you're going to bring everything together to, remember that you are operating from a whole state of being. And so that blue hand in the mental body is there to strengthen our ability to stay focused on the way that we're navigating. And it also brings us back to, again, what is my purpose? So the way that we're navigating is influenced by the challenges. For sure, we know that already. However, when we look at these challenges as something that's strengthening us, that changes the whole game. And it's funny because the other day I had this download where it was like, challenges are initiations. That's what came to mind. I'm like, you know what? Challenges are initiations. And so, whatever is a challenge for you in the way that you're evolving and navigating, know that that is an initiation. Ashe? All right. So, when we now take a look at the emotional body, where we have the yellow cosmic seed sitting, the emotional body is where we get that energetic fuel to stay in alignment with our soul, move in the direction that that spirit is guiding us in, taking a moment to breathe, and also recognize what we are here to accomplish. Whatever emotions that stir up in you. And I love when High Priestess would be like, get in your feelings. Yes, really get into your feelings about, you know, where you see yourself. Like, what is the goal? Like, what are you targeting? What are you here to flower? What seeds are you planting to grow? So as you sit in in the emotions of it, and I look at energy, I look at whenever I say emotions, I think energy in motion. Is not, and I'm not talking about the feelings. I'm talking about the energy in motion, the energy moving in you that's motivating you to navigate and move a certain way, or to envision yourself navigating and moving. You know what I'm saying? So when you sit in that, that's what opens you up to recognize what the target is, so that you can transcend that awareness. That means take your awareness to the next state. Instead of just sitting there like, oh yeah, I'm having family issues, and then just saying la 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 la. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not transcending the awareness. You like, I'm aware of it, but to transcend the awareness is to move beyond. So this is like, with those family issues, what is the target? What do you want to accomplish? That is the seed that you're going to be planting. So that's where you get more specific about what what things you want to evolve in your family. You know what I'm saying? And that will help you, to bring together the focus of knowing how you want to navigate and attracting those synchronicities. And so this can be used for anything that you are evolving through. So it's not just families, it could be just personal development. It could be, staying in alignment with your business goals, or whatever it is. You could use this to tap into that. And so when we put all of these 5 archetype energies, and I'm only saying 5, I'm saying 5 because of the positions of the Destiny Oracle. There's actually 4 archetypes in this Destiny Oracle, but there are 5 positions. So when we tap into, or connect, or synergize all 5 of, everything that we've been talking about, this puts us in a position to now define what we're flowering. It also helps us to stay in alignment with that divine intelligence, listening to our higher self, listening to divine spirit, have you want to name it. What's keeping you in alignment with uh, the interconnectedness of all things, And so that's what this is helping us to do, define how we're navigating. And so, excuse me, I meant to say to define what we're flowering. And this is done through us measuring what I'll say this, assessing what we're here to accomplish. Getting into the mindset like, you know what, I'm going through this evolution. What am I here to accomplish through this? And that also opens up that inner knowing. Okay, so this is the way that we can use this cosmic oracle reading of evolution to navigate. Because, and again, you can use this in any situation, any moment. You get to tap into this energy. And so specifically on today, that is our focus. And so I want to encourage you to think about what this plasma is revealing to you of how you are navigating and showing up in your divine purpose and consciously creating that through the power of synchronicity. So consciously in creating it is being intentional about it. You know, not just, yeah, I'm gonna just leave it at that. Being very intentional about it. What are you here to evolve through? What have you been evolving through? And how can you take it to the next level? Ashe? And so with that, I am going to go ahead and conclude this oracle reading. And again, as always, send out my love to all of you, our M.I.M.E.C community, Synchronistic Human community, and Moon Goddess and the Healing Arts community. And with that, I say, in like Kesh, I like Ken. May that you enjoy your creation in every single moment of now. I love y'all. Stay peace. Moon Goddess is signing out. Peace.